As promised, I've been super excited because SEC Mike, every time I had him on the show, he told me, you've got to get this guy on your show. He's like, he was quoting all these numbers and all these analytics. And I was like, you had me at hello. So let's go to the Speakeasy Lounge to bring in our guest. Good morning. All right, let's help me out, because your last name, I have a name that people jack up all the time. People call me Anwar all the time, and I have to let it go. I have a thing on the show that whenever people call me Anwar, everyone has to do a shot. And so whenever I have a guest come on, everyone calls me Anwar. Afterwards, I never tell anybody. I just let them go through it. But because your name is a little bit more complex, I was like, damn it, I can't play the joke because I don't want to jack up your last name. So Bartoo?
Yep. That's the Americanized version. And I've already done a couple shots, so we're good. We're good. But no, it's a pretty uncommon name. But I've always found that when I've been on enough shows or I've been around enough coaches, when they're comfortable with me, it's no longer Dave. It's always Bartoo. Hey, Bartoo, tell me a story, nerd.
Well, listen, you do a fantastic job of nerding out on numbers, and props to you because SEC Mike has been he's a friend of the show. He comes on and he's always quoting the things that you do. So let's get the setup, because you're the co-founder, obviously, of CFB Analytical, but I feel like that's so simplistic of a name, because you do so much more than that. Because, and I want to make sure you correct me. You do the analytics of head coaches and assistant coaches, and you do kind of a deep dive into their backgrounds in order to formulate the kind of almost a bio of who they are. And that might be simplistic, but give me the real version of what it is.
Oh, okay. So the 25,000 foot version of what I do, okay, is I tell stories with numbers. Yeah. Right. I'm not an X's and O's guy. Right. I'm not going to come on your show and go, I'll watch film. I don't watch a second of film. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the coaches we work for love that, because if they want to talk to a guy that watches film and does what they do, they can walk down the hall and go left or right. There's doors everywhere full of guys that know X's and O's.
Yeah.
And so we approach football from a very different perspective. Our main focus of what we do is staffing. Our firm, Matrix Analytical, that I co-founded, we decided we would focus on the behavior of coaches. And because, everybody focuses really on recruiting and on field behaviors, but we lead the NFL and college football. We are the number one staffing analytics firm in football everywhere. Okay. Mm-hmm. So our database, we have 15,282 guys currently in our database, graded. So every guy. Now, there's 11 guys on the sidelines that wear headsets, right? Yes. Head coach, OC, DC, right? So every team, FBS, FCS, has 11 dudes that wear headsets, okay? Every guy that has worn a headset in FBS and the FCS since 2009 is in our system.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, is that something that someone can pay to access?
That is, we have a cap. We will only work with 66 college football programs.
Okay.
66. So we work with 27 right now. So I have built staffs all over the country. Mm-hmm. We are the only firm that is literally moneyball to staff. Mm-hmm. Where the head coach was so busy, he's like, Dave, you go find all these guys that you like, and you set up the interviews. I'll interview them, and I'll go with the best guys that I like based off of your numbers. We've actually put a staff together that way.
Wow.
So
okay. So you've got the numbers. So this is something that for the public can't access this. But
no. I'm going to give you a sliver. I'm going to give you a peek. I'm going to give you a taste of what we do. But keep in mind, I'm not saying this guy is graded like this because of what I've seen. This is when we talk about Steve Sarkisian, the offensive play caller, it is Steve and his play calling relative to the other 981 offensive coordinators in college football since 2009.
Okay. All right. Give me a taste. Give me a taste. Give me just a little taste of something on the lips that you can just tease me with.
Oh, okay. So you want something good or you want something bad? What do you want?
I want them both. Can I get both? Can I get both? Can I get greedy? Can I get greedy?
No, we can actually we can do some. We'll make fun of some other teams that have crappy coaching staffs later. Okay.
Okay.
So let me give you some because everybody loves something that gives them warm fuzzy. Let me give you some comfort food right out of the gate. Okay.
I love this guy.
Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, right? Those are your 3 field position coaches, right? That's your trifecta of coordinators, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 trifecta of coordinators in college football entering this season.
That's Steve Sarkisian and the staff?
Texas. In our preseason articles with CBS Sports, Big 12, first team, all staff. Number 1 offensive play caller graded in the Big 12, Steve Sarkisian. Number 1 defensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski. Number 1 special teams coach, Jeff Banks.
Wow.
I mean, it is they are bad ass group of dudes, man. That is easily the best trio of coordinators in college football, and it's really not even close. I mean, you got Steve, 5-star offensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski. Man, I don't see. I know Pete because of what he did in my backyard here, and I know him because we've been watching the data. A lot of y'all didn't know who he was when Steve hired him. Correct. Pete's been a top 10 defensive coordinator for the last half decade.
Wow.
Pete Kwiatkowski is freaking amazing. He is probably the single most underrated, under-talked about defensive coordinator in all of college football. You put him like on USC. You know how everybody's talking, USC, Alex Grinch sucks. No, Alex Grinch don't suck. He's 3-star. He's average. He's middle of the road, right? You ain't going to win a national title with Alex Grinch, but you put a Pete Kwiatkowski on that team with that offense. Oh, baby. So right off the bat, Texas staffing is the best in the Big 12. And the
what goes into that? What goes into that? I know there's a lot, but what goes into that? Just so you can give me a few things.
Okay. So we got the heaviest weight is on the head coach, right? Okay. So in college football, start the year, number 1 head coach in the grading system, Nick Saban, right? And so that the head coach has the biggest grade, and then the offense and defensive coordinators have the second biggest weighted grade. Okay. And then the third biggest weight is on the special teams coach. And then the fourth weights are on the offense and defensive line coaches. Okay. So y'all got an average offensive line coach, 3-star line coach, and a superstar 4.5-star defensive line coach. Okay. And then the least weights are on the outside, wide receiver coaches, running back coaches, linebacker, safeties, so forth. And what we don't analyze, though, what we don't include in the grade is a lot of good teams. Every once in a while, you'll see them with a superstar analyst, right? That guy who's that 50-year-old dude who is right next to the 24-year-old analyst, but the 50-year-old guy is, I don't know, a 4-star offensive coordinator and a 4.5-star career offensive line coach. And he just got fired by Wisconsin, but he happens to be on the staff and he's just badass and you're lucky to have him. And that doesn't get included in it. So what we're looking at is you have all these grades for all these guys, and we have all these different sections, and then they're weighted a little bit differently depending on the value of their position. And that's the long and short of how we come up with a full staff ranking.
Okay. And how do you do it with a guy like Sark who also calls the plays on the offense, but even though he doesn't have the quote unquote OC title?
Oh, he's the play caller.
Yeah.
We don't care about titles, dude. We don't care about titles.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like it's like, oh man, he was the OC under Gus Malzahn. Yeah, he ain't never called no plays. Right? Right? They can make Dave Bartoo the OC at Texas and pay him $2 million a year. I ain't calling no plays, right?
Yeah.
Steve calling the plays, right? So we actually really go to great lengths to try to make sure we know who's calling the plays. And there's a lot of times people don't realize. Last year, just as an example, in the top 25, last year there was one team whose tight end coach was actually calling the plays on offense. There was a top 25 team last year. The linebacker coach was calling the defensive plays, not the DC.
Wow. Wow.
So things aren't always what they seem. Now we're privy to that stuff because we work with so many programs. We get to know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But we were, so like with the Texas, we have a career grade for Steve as an offensive coordinator. And that's in there. He has a separate head coach career grade. And if he was a DB coach for more than 3 years, we'd have a separate DB grade for him. So each one of these guys, as they move through their career, they have a grade based on that position, because there's some guys that are really good at, let's say, right off the top of my head, working with a head coach right now, he's going to have to make a change at his DC. He already knows it. And it's his linebacker coach. His linebacker coach career, he's been a linebacker coach for 7 years, 4.5-star linebacker coach. The guy is awesome linebacker coach. Can't call a damn defensive play to save his life. Right? So we got to make some switches there. So just because a guy is good at something doesn't mean he's going to be good at something else. So all of this stuff is always broken up in our system.
Okay. All right. So that was the good. Now go ahead and give me the bad. You made me feel good. Now let's go ahead and get into the bad.
Okay. Let's go with the downside of Texas staffing. Okay. I kind of hinted at it with the offensive line coach with Flood. All right. The offensive support staff coming into the season, the total grade that we had for the offensive support staff was 69th in the country. Okay. So 69th in the country, right there with Colorado and Oklahoma State, Louisville, East Carolina. Those are the horses you're running with on the offensive support staff. So running back coach, wide receiver coach, tight end coach, offensive line coach having the biggest weight. Now, would that grade change if we swapped out Paul Christ and Kyle Flood? Yeah. Do we know Chris is probably coaching offensive line? Yeah. But we can't do that for 255 teams. So so if there's a weak link on the staff, I would say in the numbers, it's offensive line. Is he bad? No, I'm not saying that. He's still good, but it's not, but compared to everybody else on the staff, it brings it down. All right. Defensive support staff. We've already talked about Kwiatkowski. Love Pete. Defensive support staff is 14th in the country. Defensive support side of the football is really, really good. It's in there with Utah, Penn State, Mississippi, Georgia. Those are the horses you're running with on the defensive support side. So I love that side of it. There's probably nothing we're going to change there. All right. So I would expect going forward, this year, I would expect the defense to have better scoring efficiency than the offense as a whole. But y'all are in the Big 12, and offense is really more of a premium. So, right now we're through 3 weeks of the season. Offensive scoring efficiency is 27th in the country. Defensive scoring efficiency is 36th. And that's with Alabama on the resume. So, right now it's a very balanced team. I like what I am seeing in the numbers early on for Texas. Do I think they're anywhere close to how good they could be? Dude, not even close. I believe in your trio of coordinators. I believe in the talent that you have. I believe in the talent you're about to face over the next 9 games. I expect Texas. I expect Texas and Oklahoma right now. That's a collision course for a playoff game, right there. Right,
Wait.
Alabama, Texas. I said was a playoff game, and I like Texas because their staff is far superior to Alabama in every way but head coach. And then right now it's 2 trains heading toward each other for
You said Oklahoma in the playoff?
Texas and Oklahoma. Winner of that game goes to the playoff. How's that?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right. Winner that because Oklahoma ain't playing nobody but Texas rest of the way. Right. Oklahoma had the number 1 EOS, ease of schedule ranking in football this year. So their talent compared to the average talent they're facing is the easiest path to a playoff game in college football. And the only one in the way of that is Texas. And I like the Texas staff better. I like the Texas talent better, and the other weak link that we didn't get to though, right, is head coach. Right? That's the other weak link. Okay. Steve has been a head coach in our system. We have him graded over 9 years of being in there. And let's see here. Where is his score at? Who's he running with? Steve is the guy graded right next to Steve on my list. Steve is number 64. Number 63 is Mac Brown.
Oh wow!
Rubbing some salt in the wind. Oh, come on. Let's be serious though. Is Mac won title, right? So let's give him props there. It didn't end the way anybody wanted it to, but man, that run up to that national title was underrated. Really was. So so you got Mac, you got Sonny, you got who else is in there? Mark Stoops, Sam Pittman. Those are kind of all the guys in that low 60s grade, low 3.5 star head coach. And again, not saying it's bad. It's just if we're looking for weak links in the staff, it is at head coach and offensive line. And I'm not so worried about the O-line right now because I know, even though it's not in my numbers, I know y'all got Paul Chryst, right? So to me, what stands between Texas and getting to the playoffs and winning the playoff games and winning a national title, because everything, right? Last year's performance, your offensive coordinator grade, your defensive coordinator grade, your 4-year high school recruiting ranking, everything says this is a national championship contender team. Everything. So if there's one weak link in all of it, it is the head coach, right? And based on the numbers, and I'm not trying to pick on Steve.
No, you're good.
Right? But I'm just saying, when I'm looking at all the numbers here, it's the staff is there, right? The staff is there. The talent is there. The schedule is there. You have the easiest schedule dude, you and I are never going to see an easier schedule for Texas again the rest of our lives, ever. Right? So really what you got 10 weeks to take advantage of the easiest thing you're ever going to see in the remaining history of Longhorns football. Don't blow it.
Let me ask you a couple of things. This is real good stuff. So does in your rankings, and again, I'm assuming you're pulling a lot of numbers from different stats and categories, right? So where does a victory, a Steve Sarkisian victory against a Nick Saban, who you had number 1 coming in, does that help him in any metric way in your rankings, or is that head-to-head doesn't really count in what you do?
No, I mean, look. I mean, we have Steve as a head coach in our system for 9 seasons, right? So that means coming into this season, we have him being a head coach for 108 regular season games, right? Was it cool that he beat Nick Saban? Yeah. Right? That was pretty badass. On the road, God, that was pretty sweet, right? I mean, who didn't want to be at that football game? Seriously, if you love college football, you wanted to feel that. That would have been awesome. But is one game going to change 108? Not much. But what it might start, okay? Trends Trends have to start somewhere, man. Trends have to start somewhere. And we don't know where it starts until way down the road, right? But if there was a turning point, right, we might look back and go, something clicked, and we don't even know what it is, right? We might not even be able to quantify it. Maybe something emotional in the mindset, in the culture of Steve and Texas football. Maybe something happened in that game to flip a switch that said, that took them from, I don't know if we can do this, to damn right we can do this. If we can win in Alabama, we could freaking win anywhere, right? So while it may not really affect the overall grade, the emotional effect it has or could have, it could be a huge ripple for this team going forward.
Last thing I'm going to ask you is, and some people ask me this in the chat, where did some people kind of curious, where's OU at? You know, they always want to, and where are they at as a staff? Where's Venables at?
You want to pick on somebody now, huh?
Yeah, just have a little fun, and on a real fun note.
Right? Oh, dude, there's nothing like just.
It's good rivalries. Good rivalries.
I know what you're talking about, man. Let's see here. Venables. Venables head coach grade. Hang on. I got to scroll down a bit. Still scrolling. Still scrolling. You know, there's 255 teams. You know, still scrolling. No, I'm kidding. Look. So let's start with Venables. Are we up against any time, or do I just get
no, you feel free. You keep going as long as you want. This is hilarious. I might pour a drink and just talk to you.
That's cool, dude. I love this stuff. I could do this all day for every team. All day. Dude, I live and breathe coaching and staff building. So let's start with Venables as a head coach. He had 1 year, right? So in our system, nobody gets a full grade until after 3 years. Okay. All right. So do we know who Brent Venables is? No. And in the transfer portal, he was basically on year 0. It wasn't even year 1. Okay. But year 1 was shit. It was. Right. All right. So coming into this season, his head coach grade was ranked 191st.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. So it was a bad first year for him relative to the talent and schedule he had. Jeff Levy, it was a bad first year as a play caller for Oklahoma. He basically had his grade in Venables are almost the exact same thing, which was, and let's see here, where is Levy at? Levy's at a 0.468, which is 204th. In the country coming into the season. Now, the one guy that we're really comfortable with is Ted Roof, but you know, is Ted Roof really calling plays at Oklahoma? You know, my sources tell me no, and that it's Venables, but Roof, if he was 91st in the country coming into the season, he's right there with Joe Rossi at Minnesota. Scott Power at Louisiana Tech, Gene Chizik at North Carolina. So not a lot of it is the core is pretty weak. Now, when you flip over to the support staff, now we start getting a little bit different. Oklahoma, number 4 offensive support staff in the country. Okay. So they're now, Levy may not have had a good career so far after 12 regular season games, but the support staff at Oklahoma is outstanding on the offensive side of the football. So that isn't really a weakness there. Defensive side of the football is ranked 16th. So the support staff at Oklahoma is wicked good. Their weakness is at head coach, at offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator. All right. So, and then overall, when you add it all together, and remember I said coordinators and head coaches weigh a lot more, and it's quite obvious they're ranked 110th in the country in overall staffing. Right. But a lot of that is based on Venables having 1 year and a poor first year, and Levy having 1 year and a poor first year. Right. So don't get too far over the skis, folks, on the actual ranking, because the support staff that they have is very, very good. And obviously the talent that both Texas and Oklahoma have relative to their actual schedules this year is basically 1-2 in the country. So that's why I see the collision course with these programs, down the road. And then Oklahoma's playing good football, obviously. Number 8 scoring efficiency defense in college football, number 1 scoring efficiency offense, number 1 overall total scoring efficiency offense. Texas is at 27, but again, if you step back, Oklahoma ain't played Alabama. Texas did. So I expect those numbers to be a lot closer together come game time when those two go head to head.
All right, can we do one more? Because this is
I got plenty of time reserved. I'm a junkie on this stuff. Just keep hitting me, dude.
Okay, all right, fine. All right, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M.
Oh, dude, that's a good staff too. Oh my gosh. The thing is with that staff, the weak link. What's the weak link? You tell me. What's the weak link? Come on.
Well, it's gotta be Jimbo, isn't it?
Yep.
It's Jimbo.
It's Jimbo.
Yes.
Right? It's Jimbo. Now Jimbo is still solid head coach, right? Still solid. But you got a 4.5-star offensive coordinator in Petrino. Wow. All right. Now, this is where things could have really changed because Jimbo is a better head coach than a play caller. But for his career, he's been doing both. And this year, he brought in Petrino, and he took a back seat to Bobby, and Jimbo's just going to be a CEO. So can he be a better head coach without being also the play caller? I believe he can, and I do believe in the numbers that Bobby is far superior to Jimbo as a play caller. So you got an OC upgrade. You got an offensive play caller upgrade at A&M. Durkin, 4-star defensive coordinator. Very, very solid there. The support staff for A&M, it really looks an awful lot like Texas. It is stronger on the defensive support side of the ball. And the offensive support side of the ball, Texas A&M and Texas are really, really close. I think what really differentiates Texas football from Texas A&M football is that coordinator group, that OC, DC, special teams. A&M's is good, top 20 in the entire country, okay? But if they go head-to-head, the staffing at Texas, I believe, the recruiting is pretty even, maybe slight edge to Texas. Staffing, I give that an edge to Texas. If this is played on a neutral field, I like Texas better in that football game. But there's not a lot to really hate on either program right now. Both staffs are really good, really solid. Both staffs have really good recruiting. They're both top 12 in the country in high school recruiting over the last 4 years. And but the weak link right now is Fisher. So we'll see if that change of play caller to CEO actually has an effect on them long term. Short term, it didn't help. They got their ass beat by Miami, so they're behind the 8 ball already.
Tell everybody how they can find you, follow you, support you. Clearly, you get all your stuff obviously from the colleges, but this is fine. You got a podcast. Like what? How can people just get access to you?
Well, it is. This is for fun, right? Doing shows like this, I enjoy doing this, but it also brings credibility to what we do because there's coaches that are going to hear this. Promise, right? I mean, 99% of all of my contacts in college football have come through direct messaging on Twitter. Right? You know, I mean, and it's amazing. And even when I'm doing this show, I'm doing it from the standpoint is I'm actually not talking to your audience. I'm trying to educate other coaches on what we do. Right? Because Steve might listen to this and Steve might go, I want Bartoo and his group on my staff going forward so that when we have a spot to fill, I'm ready for it. I'm getting the best guy available. I want 10 other Pete Kwiatkowskis. I want 10 other Jeff Banks. I want best available all the time. So, you know, from a revenue standpoint, right? People support from a support standpoint, It's all with the programs. You know, you can follow me on Twitter at CFB Matrix. If you got a college football question, remember I told you I was a junkie for this?
Yes.
Oh man, dude, you can text me 971-217-8419. If you're a real nice fan and you're civil about it, you text me. I'll pretty much get back to you on anything college football. That's how much of a junkie I am, because I do keep coaches' hours. And if you want some extra stuff, you know, a little bit more insight, access to a couple of the high level spreadsheets and so forth, I do have a Patreon account at CFB Matrix. I got 300-400 folks on that one, you know, so that helps, you know, buy some beer and buy a cup of coffee here and there. So those are the ways you can support. But, you know, mostly it's just following along on Twitter at CFB Matrix. And the other thing is, don't be a stranger, bro. If you're listening if you're listening right now, folks, if you want more of this, if you want me to come back on, look, I know how hard it is to scratch out a living in media and college football and try to be relevant. So, buddy, I am always here to support you any way I can. You want me back on again, you let me know. I am here for you.
Aaron, can you put us some of the comments that people had about you? Like, I can tell you that there is plenty of people who are in the chat. Aaron's going to put some of these comments on the screen from folks who are saying, bring this guy back. We need to have him back. You know, get him on here. Somebody's asking where you were from, if you're from the Northeast or something like that. There was a lot of different things that was out there. So just trust me, people love you. I guess I should have asked you about, I guess, Tom Herman. You got a Tom Herman ranking?
We got time, right?
Yeah, we got time. Give me a Tom Herman. Give me a Tom Herman rankings, just out of curiosity.
Tom, I like Tom. The numbers actually like Tom too. You know who the numbers don't like?
Who's that?
Charlie Strong. That guy stinks.
Well, we know about Charlie. We know all too well about Charlie.
Dude, I'm serious. 20% of his salary better be going to Teddy Bridgewater every damn week. Every damn week. Let's see here. Tom Herman. There he is. Florida Atlantic. Solid head coach. Really solid head coach. On the field, his on-field results between Texas and Houston puts him in the top 30 of head coaches in college football right now. Okay. That's on field. Now, let me rewind a little bit. When I was talking about Steve's grade as a coach, okay, there's actually 3 things that we evaluate a coach on. So when I'm working with the AD, right? So right now I'm working with 3 ADs that are likely to replace their head coach this year already, right? Okay. Yes. I mean, folks, if you think this stuff happens in October, November, no, we start doing coaching searches in July and August, baby. Okay. Wow. It starts early, you know, and it doesn't mean something's going to happen, but an AD needs to be prepared. So when I'm talking about, there's 3 things at the head coach that's very different than everything else. So when I'm talking Steve's grade and Tom's grade, I'm talking on-field performance relative to their talent and schedule. Okay. The second thing that I'm not talking about, but I work with the ADs on, that we grade the head coach on, is recruiting. How good do they recruit relative to the program they're at? Right? It's not, you know, so people go, oh man, this dude at Georgia's number 1 defensive line, number 1 recruiter in the country. Well, Jesus, dude, give me a sack of money. I can get 5 stars at Georgia too. Right? Come on. I can get 5 stars at Texas. I want to know, what did this dude, you know, this head coach that elevated recruiting at Texas State? Right? You know, Texas State, their average class is 113. In the last 3 years, it's 87. Oh, I want to talk to that guy. Right? So it's relative. And then we break it down by the efficiency of offenses versus defensive recruiting. Right? You know, so like a Jim Mora, he's a defensive guy. All right. And his average guy that he signed at UCLA was graded 26% higher than the average offensive guy. So he wasn't. So when you look at the class as a whole, you go, oh, this guy's a top 20 recruiter. No, he is a top 15 defensive recruiter and a top 35 offensive recruiter. Right. So that's the second part. So we look at Steve as a head coach on the field and the results, but then we also look at Steve as a recruiter. and what he has done as a head coach at Washington and USC. And now we're adding Texas on there. And then the third thing, this is where the 15,282 guys really comes in, is we also grade a guy like Steve on his career staffing. How good is he at hiring an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator? And especially, we can break down for an AD how well this guy is going to hire, right? And especially if we have enough information. So Tom Herman, going back to Tom, right? So we got a really good head coach. I like Tom. The numbers are good. But he hired an absolute dud of a defensive coordinator. Absolute dud. If Tom would have called me, and he could have, Tom, if you're watching this, you could have texted me, and we wouldn't have had this problem. God damn. So he goes out and hires. I mean, he'd have been better going to the beach and picking up a piece of driftwood and hiring a stick, right? You know. So he goes out and hires. He goes out and hires Rock Bellatoni as his defensive coordinator, who's called plays for 7 years. It's not like we don't have a profile on this guy, and he is ranked 232nd out of 255 coming into the season.
Oof.
Okay, there are only and remember, when I say 255, that is a bunch of FCS dudes that are really bad. So Florida Atlantic has in FBS, Arkansas State has a worse DC, Kent State has a worse DC, Northern Illinois. So he is the 4th worst graded DC in college football at FAU. Wow. And I didn't even know what the numbers are, but I'm guessing FAU's defensive rank already sucks. Let's see here.
Tell me.
Better than expected. Better than expected. Nice.
Exceeding the numbers, huh?
92nd in scoring efficiency. No, it's not bad. Their offense is 130th. So hey, things are looking up on the defensive side. And now here's another little insight, right? Right. Yeah, I love this part too. So Tom is an offensive mind, right? Tom's an offensive mind. So folks, everybody listening, one of probably the biggest thing that gets especially a rookie head coach fired is really bad coaching hires. Bad coaching hires, and having one side or the other that is very, very weak. Okay. So when we're working with the head coach, one of the first things I'll look at is what side of the ball is this guy good at, right? So Tom Herman is good on the offensive side of the football. Look at his support staff. His support staff on offense has a 67 grade at FAU. That's actually higher than Texas grade on the support staff side. He's got he's got a top 30 offensive support staff. All right. And so it's like, all right, cool. His offensive coordinator don't have no experience. So that's cool, right? So, and then he has offensive play calling experience. So we expect FAU to have a much stronger offense side. It's not so far this year at all. It's the 3rd worst in the country. But on the defensive side, his defensive support staff is graded 174. So he hires super strong on the offensive side, but his ability to evaluate on the defensive side is, in my opinion, very, very weak. So going forward, FAU, I think the weak link on that program is clearly going to be defense, and it's going to be that way going forward. Now, I don't have access to Tom's whole career, but I am willing to bet right now that if I pulled up all 8 years of his staffing, which I have, right? We have every staff ranked by year, every support staff ranked by year, going back to 2009 across everything college football. I can see into this guy, right? So this is the predictive analytics side of things, right? Past behavior, future behavior. That's your analytic edge, right? Okay, and for everybody listening, I'm going to sidebar this real quick, buddy. Let's do it. When somebody puts a number out there, okay, and they call it analytics, here is the easiest way to call bullshit on analytics. All right. Okay. If I tell you that Texas, Oklahoma's number 8 in defensive scoring efficiency, number 1 in offensive scoring efficiency, does that help you, give you an edge? No. So that's just a stat. That is a number. That is marketing. All right. So the
Okay.
difference between stats and analytics, always ask the question, can I gain an edge from this behavior? Right? If the
Mm-hmm.
answer is no, that's not analytics. Okay. Dudes posting their analytics graphs with helmets all over the place. That's just numbers. That's just marketing. Right. So always ask the question, can I gain an edge? This is why we only work with 66 programs, right?
Yeah.
Half of them. Because if we work with all of them, there's no edge. Right. There's
Mm-hmm.
no
Mm-hmm.
edge. Right. So the SEC, we already work for 6 of them. We already work for 6 of them. We're taking 2 more, and then we're cutting everybody else off because we believe in the edge. And so, like this, the edge of hiring somebody like Tom Herman, if I worked for this AD, the edge is, look, Mr. AD or Miss AD, I don't know who the AD is off the top of my head, is this is what you're likely to get. This is the likely performance on offense. This is the likely performance on the defense. Here is what the staff is likely to look like before he even hires it. And those are the edges that we give ADs in under, we're a piece of the puzzle. When an AD is hiring somebody, it's 1,000-piece puzzle, right? Boom, puzzle pieces everywhere. We're like 7 of them, right? But we are part of the puzzle. And our goal is to give our clients, it's micro cuts, 1,000 little cuts, little tiny edges, whether it's in a game or off the field. We're trying to create edges of efficiency and risk in the numbers.
That's it. Okay. So one last thing. Okay. This is what I gotta, because people keep asking me.
We're gonna have nothing left next time. Nothing.
No, we got tons left. You got everything. Okay. People keep asking me. Last thing. People keep asking about your Kyle Flood grade, and they want to know what goes into that. What into Kyle Flood grade, because here Kyle Flood is viewed as a great recruiter, great developer. The offensive line has played incredibly well.
Yeah.
And so there's a thing that's not connecting with the audience as it relates to Kyle Flood. So this would be the very last thing, if you can help us out with that.
No. It's and I don't have his report in front of me. And just because again, I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. Remember, we're just a small piece of the puzzle. Just because the numbers say he's not an elite offensive line coach doesn't mean he can't be one at Texas. Okay. And remember also that his ability to recruit is not in his profile as an on-field offensive line coach. All right. So, but what goes into his whole career is everywhere he's been. Not just at Texas, not just at Rutgers or anything like that, is where has he been an offensive coordinator. Now, I apologize. I can't pull that up right now, and it takes a little bit of time to pull up the whole database and search through it.
It's cumulative and not the last 2 years.
No. We can't. Dude, okay, here's a great example of that. Okay, this is exactly why we don't even give a guy a full grade for 3 years. We'll give you direction. Right. But nobody gets a star grade until 36 games, minimum 36 games. Okay. Doug Belk at Houston. Okay. 2 years ago, top 10 defense. Dude, rising star. Awesome. Badass. Dude, DC of the future. Last year, bottom 20 defense. Right. So we can't just go, oh, I like Kyle the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Or I like Steve at Washington, but I don't like Steve at USC, so I'm going to throw that stuff out, right?
Yes.
So when we're looking at Kyle Flood, and for fans, for most people, right, it's hard to wrap your mind around our database. Number one, it took us 7 years to make it. Okay? Imagine just trying to find every coach and their title from every school for the last 15 years. That, right? Yeah. And then you have all the play-by-play data. Then you have to figure out how to break these guys down. So on an offensive line coach, we're looking at passing efficiency and running efficiency. We got 2 different grades that come together for one offensive line coach grade, right? So with Kyle, we're looking at, I don't know how many years he has in our system as an offensive line coach, but we're not looking at the last couple of years. We're looking at everything he has done. If he has held the title and has been the offensive line coach at any point, at any school since 2009, that makes up his whole grade. So there's
Gotcha.
no recency bias to it. We want to look at the whole. What we're trying to establish is what we call a field goal posts, right? Except it's really more, it's more turned like this, right? We want to know what's your ceiling, what's your best year, what's your worst year, right? And so
Yes.
what always scares us is hiring a guy that has had 1 or 2 really good years, and we go, wow, look at his ceiling, it's awesome. Dude, you don't know the floor,
Yeah.
right? That's the Scott Spross syndrome, right? We know what the ceiling is. The ceiling is miraculously badass,
Yeah.
but we didn't know what the floor was
Yeah.
until we hit it. Now we know what the floor is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how we have to look. That's why we got to look at it as a bigger picture, right? And look at a bigger sample size. So, and again, I'm not saying, Kyle, if you're listening, I'm not saying you're a bad offensive line coach. I'm saying for your career, you are slightly above average compared to the other 1,098 offensive line coaches that have come through college football since 2009.
Dave Bartoo, you are awesome. You're my new best friend. I will have you back. Trust me, there will be plenty for us to talk about throughout the year. We have other good shows here on our channel. I will make sure to tell them they need to get you on here as well. I'll make sure that I guarantee you that this will make the rounds at the University of Texas. It probably won't be long before you get a call from someone who's a little bit curious, because they've got a lot of money invested in these coaches. They're probably going to want to have a little conversation with you.
Oh man, and you know something. I mean, heck, you could go. The cost of what we do is so cheap. You could literally raise the money on a GoFundMe right now and hand us over to Sark. It's that inexpensive. But no, I appreciate you having me on this morning. I hope for everybody listening, the number one takeaway I always hope is you feel like you're a smarter fan. You feel like you know something, and that you feel that you're looking at football differently. Because I look at football differently. Okay, I look at football very differently. So that's my goal, is to make football more interesting. But as a fan, for everybody out there, to get you to look at it at a different angle. Just because it's what somebody says something on TV, like going for 2, don't ever do it. You're chasing a ghost. It's a bad idea. That's a losing situation, right? So if I'm on again in the future, hopefully, I hope I continue to try to educate y'all and get your mindset in a little bit different way of looking at college football.
Thank you, Dave Bartoo. You've accomplished my goal. As I always say, HD, I want us to be smarter. You've made us smarter. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.